Hey everybody, it's Trigger Bar Philosopher. Welcome back out to the channel. Today we're going to be continuing our testing with 380 ACP self-defense ammunition. Today we're going to be taking a look at the G2 R.I.P ammunition. Should be a good time. Let's get to shooting. Okay, well, what are we going to be talking about today? We're going to be taking a look at this G2, if we can zoom in here, R.I.P ammunition. It's got kind of a pretty cool copper jacketed hollow point. It's got all these pre-cuts so that when it starts to enter its intended target, it will do some explosive separation, and you should get various wound tracks appearing in the intended target. Today we're going to be firing it out of our Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 2.0 and out of our Beretta ADX Cheetah. We've dropped the Kimber from our testing just because I think most people are going to be pretty interested in the Smith & Wesson Bodyguard, and then just for comparison and different barrel lengths, we're going to use this Beretta. My apologies for the gunfire in the background. Please bear with it. As our buddy over at Paul Harrell's channel would say, we kind of got to do the best that we can. All right, well, this R.I.P ammunition is kind of an interesting round, but it also brings up, do you really want to be using something for self-defense when it is called R.I.P on the box? Rest in peace is what it typically stands for. I'm sure they have it meaning something else in this, but I don't know how wise that is to use something that's called R.I.P. Paul Harrell, others have done videos on this in the past. Nevertheless, we're going to see if it's a good performer in gel, and if it actually fires in our guns with or without malfunctions, and if it's something that can be accurate for us at self-defense distances. Well, we got a lot on tap for today. We're going to shoot in gel, we're going to do accuracy, and we're going to do some radar testing with our Garmin. Should be a good time. Let's get to shooting. Okay, well, we have the 62 grain R.I.P round from G2 Ammunitions. We do have a Garmin up here. It may be able to catch this bullet. I don't know. You're supposed to be 16 yards back. I'm only like 7 or 8 yards back. We'll see what happens when we fire this into the gel, if it can catch it or not. I've had some success and some no success, so we'll see. Wow, that's pretty cool. Okay, well, let's take a look and see what this round did. Pretty nasty wound track. It comes in, explodes at about that 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch mark. Petals go flying in different, create their own wound channels, if you will, copper petals, out to 4 inches. And then the solid core continues to go down to 10.5 inches. I kind of like that bullet. I mean, if it wasn't for the name, if they quit printing R.I.P on them, I'd say that's a great round. I do not want to be in a court where they're saying, so Trigger Bar, you decided you wanted to make everyone dead when you bought this ammo. You were premeditated, you know, blah, blah, blah. That's the garbage marketing that I just wish they wouldn't do. And you know, you're going to have to be the judge on whether that makes a difference to you or not. But I would just tell the company, please stop doing that, because that's actually a pretty good round. Just very nice, good explosion. I know in the past I say 4 inches may not be enough, but that's a lot of blood vessels and potentially veins, arteries. You're going to get a lot of blood loss with all that fracturing going on. And then it still gets down to 9.5 inches. I like them to get to 12, but you know, hey, that looks like it does a pretty good job. Not super easy to see with this white background, but you can see these are all these projectiles that are coming out. So, okay, well, we have the G2 ammunition. We got our Beretta. Let's see if we can capture this one both in the gel and with the Garmin. Looks like we did, maybe some of it came out the top, but that's good enough. 1324, about 100 feet per second more with this little bit longer barrel. And it's a little bit longer barrel, a little bit more velocity, 1300 feet per second. That's starting to get going. But what we saw is actually just a slight move back. You can see that some of these petals didn't go as far, and the explosion happened a little bit more to the surface. Not so sure I like that as much, But we can see, well, we got a train going by. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not, but I'll keep going. We saw the bullet come in here up top, continues on for, look at that, pretty much the exact same. Now, it looks like these rounds that are in here, and I'll dig them out in just a second, have some expansion going on with them. So yeah, they're doing some damage out to the 10 marks, but the permanent wound track is pretty minimal on these bullets. Maybe a little bit more with the Beretta with a little bit more energy into it. So very interesting, both again out to about the 9.5 inch mark. Okay, let's take a look at these G2 ammunition. We can tell very similar to our Liberty Defense type ammunition, where it's got a solid core at the back. Does look like it has a little bit of expansion. I don't know, not much, but these petals that were all over in the gel produce some nasty fragmentation with that copper. That's pretty interesting. I can't tell a difference between these two in terms of which one had more expansion, less expansion. I think we just saw that it happened sooner, but they ended up in the same spot, that it just happened sooner with the Beretta with more energy. Okay, next up we have 5 rounds of this G2 ammunition in our Smith & Wesson Bodyguard. We have our Garmin Xero C1. It's a radar that checks the velocity of the bullets as they're being fired. Let's see how this performs in this aspect. 12-18, 12-16, 12-43, 12-41, and 12-15. That seems to be fairly consistently loaded ammunition. Let's just take a quick look at the session summary. At a min of 12-15, a max of 12-43, 28 feet per second isn't amazing, but it's pretty good for some of the handgun loads that we've been seeing, with an average of 12-27. And then our kinetic energy is 207, above that 200 threshold for energy foot-pounds. Again, 380 ACP is lower. That RIP ammunition isn't bad. Let's take a look and see how it does out of the Beretta. All right, we got 5 rounds loaded up with the Beretta. Let's see how it does. 1296, 1209, and we got a failure with the Beretta. And again, that is with the Beretta having its chamber polished and all. It looks like it's there, but it's just not quite closing in. 1309 was the last reading. 1309.2. It says we recorded 3 shots. 4 shots, 1315. 5 shots, 1305. And I thought I loaded 5, but we loaded 6, I guess, and 1314.5. Take a quick look at the session summary. And what we have is a min of 1296, a max of 1315, extreme spread of 18. That's getting a little better. An average of 1308. These seem to be loaded quite well. We're getting pretty decent velocities. Again, it is only a 20 or a 62 grain projectile. An average kinetic energy of 23,235, but it's not working in this one. Seems to be working fine in the Smith & Wesson Bodyguard, and I suspect many of you are watching these videos for that. But if you own the Beretta Cheetah 80X, it doesn't seem to like a lot of hollow points and things like that. So you got to find something that runs with it. All right, let's next move on to accuracy. All right, well, at 5 yards, we have the Bodyguard 2.0. We have this G2 ammunition. I have 6 rounds in it because I just want to make sure that we are getting function. So I'm going to try to shoot more rounds here just to see how it's performing. Oh yeah, one more. So all of those fired. That's good news. Again, from other rounds that I've tested, I've seen low and to the left, up and to the right, middle. You got to know what ammunition is zeroed works well with your gun. Okay, now we have our Beretta. Again, we're not looking at great precision of any remarks. We're looking at how, in self-defense, how the bullets end up on the middle of the target or not, or off-centered, so that I can know if this is something that I have to make adjustments for, if I'm going to use this for self-defense. I hope this is useful for you. I would highly recommend any self-defense ammunition you get, you buy double what you think you need, and then you practice with the other half. And that could be one downside to this G2 ammunition. Well, it seems to shoot fine in the Beretta and decent accuracy. Okay, well, let's wrap things up. What are my thoughts about this G2 ammunition? I think given that it is a little on the pricey side, you know, it's one of those ammunitions that Paul Harrell liked to talk about as a hyper ammunition, and why he wasn't a fan of it is for several reasons, and one of them being the cost. So this definitely falls into that category. What it does do, though, is you saw that it does make a lot of nice little wound tracks, separate spikes coming out when it impacts the intended target. I think that can be good, creating multiple different wound channels. The big question that's always on my mind, and it's always a debate in the comments, is if that is enough penetration to be causing enough wounding in order to incapacitate the individual. Is that just going to be all that wounding going to happen here in the chest? If you do some videos and you look at what Gun Sam has looked at, and I don't know if he's tested this one, I've seen some of his Liberty Civil Defense where some of that happens before it hits the medium density fiberboard. And so in theory, before it actually hits it goes through the bone and gets to the vitals, it might be exploding, especially someone who's a little bit heavier, like myself. So that's something to consider, but I do like that. I also like that it has a hard core that goes fairly deep. It's not getting out terribly far, but it's getting to 10 inches, which probably, again, for most self-defense ranges with 380 ACP, is probably a good distance for us to look at. So overall, I think this is pretty good. Again, we saw on the Bodyguard, we had failure. Sorry, again, we saw on the Beretta, we had failures to return to battery. That's going to be a reoccurring theme for just about every kind of jacketed hollow point that I've been testing. There are a few that it doesn't, but I'm not testing a huge a volume of it. And so my guess is if we increase our volume with a lot more of these jacketed hollow points, you're going to see more and more failures with just about all of these hollow point ammunitions with the Beretta. I don't know why. It was supposed to have been redesigned. That was supposed to be one of the features of the Beretta 80X as compared to the Beretta 84, was that it was supposed to be able to feed hollow points better. But I'm just not really experiencing that. It did work fine out of the Bodyguard. I didn't seem to have any failures. It seemed to be accurate. It seems to be a decent round to carry. I actually thought that it performed a little bit better than the Liberty Civil Defense round that we tested. It got pretty much maybe just a little bit more penetration, but I think the wound tracks were a little bit better. The Liberty Civil Defense seems to kind of just explode. And it's probably smaller fractures versus these spikes. I somehow kind of like that nature of it in my mind. I don't know if that translates into actual performance in something that you're looking to put down, be it animals or self-defense purposes. So given that, I would like to hear what you guys think. Do you think that this is a round that you would like to carry? Is this something that you are going to put into your rotation? It's pretty expensive. Or do you have to train with it? Is this something that you're willing to go through? Or do you say, no, look, I'm going to train with FMJs and then I'll shoot, a box of this a year or something, and I'm fine with that in my carry gun. Let me know what you guys think. Sound off in the comments. I appreciate that. I hope everyone has a great week, and let's get to shooting.